Hey guys, welcome to the Titanium Vault. I'm your host, RJ Bates. Today I'm sitting down with Jill DeWit and Stephen Butala. How you guys doing today?
Excellent, RJ.
Wonderful.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you guys. It looks like you've done a little bit of investing in your lifetime. I
Smidgen.
think, I don't get many sheets that say 16,000 transactions. That's a few deals that y'all have done in the past.
Exactly. And we're not
Yeah.
stopping.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys take a quick second, kind of briefly introduce yourself, tell everybody what it is that you do in real estate.
I am the guy that stands next to Jill. My name's Steve. And thanks. Thank you.
I love it.
That's awesome. Go back with what we really do. I think that's good.
Jill and I, in 2015, after 2.5 decades of completing transactions, land-driven transactions, at that time was about 15,000 deals. It's closer to 16,000 now. Decided to start a company called landacademy.com, fully thinking it's not going to work at all. And it turns out there was just this pent-up market demand for people wanting to buy and sell rural vacant land, which is not what we specialize in, but that's what we started with, and all types of land. So since then, we've created maybe 500 or 600 partners for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just been a crazy wild ride, including up to and including right now being here with you, RJ.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about that. You said it's not what you got started in. How did you guys get started in real estate and buying rural land?
This is great. This is all Stephen.
So I started in the very early 90s brokering nursing homes and hospitals on a national basis, and very quickly learned in a couple of years that it takes a year to do a deal. It's like the most complicated commercial real estate deal you could do. You got to get federal approval, state approval, all kinds of reimbursement stuff, insurance, all kinds of things happen. It takes a year to get a deal done, and a year's a long time for a lot of stuff to go wrong in a deal. Got a few deals done, one big deal in particular, and I spent almost a year between that last long-term care deal and buying the first piece of real estate. And I went from the most complicated piece of real estate transaction to maybe the most easy. Buying a piece of land directly from a seller without a title agent and without a lender, just taking out all the BS out of a real estate deal, and then quickly sold it on the internet for twice what I paid. And then, so here we are, 25 years later, 16,000 deals later. And we're still, I just looked at our CRM before we got on here, and there's over 350 deals, I think, in there that are like ones that we think we can do. So we've been busy.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that. So you're going direct to the seller.
Yep.
And you're purchasing the piece of land.
Yes.
And then just turning around and marketing it on the internet and selling it to someone else.
Or we have a buyer lined up in a lot of cases.
Jill, why don't you describe what you're doing right now? Because that's a perfect scenario.
I was just going to say, because it works with all property types. So even though Land Academy is all about land, because that's the easiest way to learn this. What I'm doing right now today is the exact same business model, but instead I'm buying $5 and $10 million properties here in LA County and flipping them the same way. But the difference is I have the buyers kind of already I have a group in my back pocket that I know what they want, but I'm reaching out to these sellers, and I'll tell you what it is. It's direct mail. And they're literally getting a letter from us,
an
offer letter from us, and they are calling my phone. Or, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm making the deal directly with the seller, and then we close the deal. That's it.
So we have a lot of wholesalers. That's how I got started in real estate, was wholesaling. Yeah. So do you refer this to wholesaling, or are you actually closing on it and then marketing to your buyers and closing?
On the land side, we buy it, take it in inventory, and hold it, done, period.
And we sell it.
And sell
Gotcha.
it. That's it. Some of these bigger $5-10 million deals, I don't need to sit on it. I'm comfortable with my group. I have, like with houses, it kind of depends on my buyer list.
Depends on the deal.
And the deal, exactly. And if I'm afraid there's a chance I might not get the deal, or there's a reason I need to close real fast, I'll buy it. I'll take it in inventory. I might only own it for a day, but I control the asset.
Gotcha.
If most of the ones I'm doing right now, I've got an established group, and I'm just handing it over to them, and they love it because no agents. I'm with the seller. We're all saving money there. And I was gonna say, it's just easy, I guess.
Well, you
So,
brought up something that's interesting there as well. You said you're doing this all through direct mail. And, I
yeah.
think, I talk about marketing a lot on the show, and, there's some people that are pushing other forms of marketing in the
Right.
investing world that kind of say direct mail is dead. And every highly successful investor that I have on here says, no, direct mail is still definitely working. Yeah, there's new trendy things like ringless voicemails and now the SMS texting and things like that. But direct mail still works. But you guys are sending out offer letters as your direct mail. I think that's a big difference than what a lot of people are doing. So go into details about what that looks like.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a sign in our office that says we are a data company that happens to sell real estate. And so I like to call us data centric. I was a partner at KPMG I have an accounting background. So I'm just naturally a data person. And because on our show, we have a podcast too. We constantly talk about data and mail merges and how to price things. It's just very brainy data. Those are the types of people that end up joining our group that are very, they're like former engineers, or we've got aerospace engineers and accountants and things like that. So the whole premise of sending out an offer campaign for us goes like this. I run an analysis, whether it's any product type, on the zip code that I'm thinking about running. So I always use Mesa, Arizona as an example. Please don't send mail out to Mesa. There's like 6 or 8 zip codes in Mesa, and I pit them against each other. So I look at days on market, number of properties that are actually listed on the MLS as compared to the universe of properties in that zip code. And I do a red, green, yellow analysis. So if the days on market's real low, there's not a lot of property that's for sale there consistently. And it seems to be cycling through, let's say in the last 12 to 24 months, I choose that zip code. Then I identify all the logical candidates that want to sell their property. For houses, we remove everybody who's got a mortgage. For land, we pretty much send it to everybody because in an urban area, at least, there's not that many pieces of property. So we send it. And we have the secret sauce, if you will, on how we do this is how we price it, which is what we teach in all of our programs. And so if it's priced properly, generally for houses, we price it at about 70% of what we think the retail value is. In some cases lower. Sometimes we use $1 a month, but for purposes of this is how we do it. For land, we go in way hotter because obviously nobody lives on land. It's just sitting there and not being used. We go in at closer to 25%. And everybody gets an actual offer that says, we would like to buy your property for $28,300.22. And we'd like to close on Thursday, all cash. There's nothing that you really need to do. Give us a call if you want to. Look us up here, do some research, or just sign it and send it back or take a picture of it. And a very predictable and consistent number of people send it back and respond positively. All throughout the years, it hasn't changed. So what's really interesting, and I found this out even now with Jill doing these really large deals in Los Angeles County, what's interesting is they all say some version of this. I get a lot of mail from people who want to buy my property, but I never get an offer like this that's already priced.
Right.
Exactly.
And so we do that. We can do this 20 or 30,000 units at a time or more through mail merges. And so that's a new concept to a lot of people that come to us. But once that switch clicks in their head, they get it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible because I'm even thinking about our company, and I mean, it's almost, it can catch you off guard when the seller calls you and says, hey, you said you're willing to make me an offer. What's the offer? And you're like, well, I need to know we don't do land. We do a lot of houses. So it's like, well, what's the condition of the house? And then we try to build the rapport and things like that. You guys are kind of skipping that step in the sales process and just going straight for the offer, the dollar amount.
Right.
You mentioned that you do not only vacant land, but you're also going after houses as well. Do you ever see that you're getting more offers accepted on the land side compared to the single family homes, or is it about 50-50?
You know what's interesting about that? I tell you, I used to think that our house numbers we're lower yield than our land. I mean, it's a little bit less than the land.
I'm happy to share our actual numbers with you. For rural vacant land in a well thought out county, where you can do your research, for every 300 to 400 offers that we send out, we buy a piece of property.
Right.
And this is scraping the bottom, 20-30% of what we think it's worth. For houses in an urban area, semi-urban area, let's say like Mesa, Arizona, is what I would call semi-urban. It's about between 1,800 and 2,500 offers. We buy a house and immediately resell it. For what Jill's doing, these real urban, what I call a zoning type mailer, where she's looking at pretty high dollar. Somebody gets an offer in the mail for $1.6 million for a rundown house that's pre-zoned to build a small apartment building. That's a pretty damn good payday for anybody.
Yeah.
So her numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
We just did a 17,000 unit mailer, and I think she's got 36 deals.
At least 30 right now.
So we haven't. That effort is too new. We're doing it with a business partner that's local here. That he's done this before, and he's just mesmerized by our process. And like Jill just got off the phone with him right before we got in front of the camera. Right. So I don't know what the numbers are like there, but it's going to be better than 2,000. It'll be lower than 2,000.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this real quick. I think you kind of answered it earlier when you said mail merges, but how are you going in? And you said you sent out 17,000 letters, right? Yep. So that's 17,000 offers.
Yep.
How are you calculating these offers for 17,000 pieces of land and properties before you send out the mail campaign? Is that built within your CRM?
So stick with me. I'm going to try to make this entertaining and not freaking boring. Mostly for Jill, not for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have years and years and years of experience of boring Jill. So this is not going to be one of those moments. I'm really talking to myself now. Imagine a 17,000 line spreadsheet, and each one of those lines is the assessor data for all the properties for whatever reason that you've identified as accepting an offer. Let's just say they're in a zip code and they don't have any debt. So when you go on to Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and all of that, they all have algorithm values on these houses. So what we do is we have a way where we have people in the Philippines that go down every single line, 17,000 lines, and fill those numbers in. We're working on making it automatic, and we're actually pretty close to that from a tech standpoint. You divide those numbers out, and so now you have these 5 or 6 algorithms that are out there divided by 5 or 6. Take the average, and then let's say you want to offer 70% of that. You multiply 70, and each one of those assets now is what we call smart pricing. Mm-hmm. Now those assets are all very individually priced very, very quickly. You can usually turn it around overnight. So now you've got that same 17,000 line spreadsheet with very individually priced assets that are custom priced. You mail merge it with your document that says, this is Excel to Microsoft Word. If you go on YouTube and look up what a mail merge is, you'll learn about it inside of 2 minutes. And you send them to the printer. We own a company called offerstowners.com. It's a bulk mail printing company that services our members and us, obviously.
And everybody.
Right. And everybody. Yeah, it's open to the public.
And the smart pricing service is open to the public too.
And
awesome.
They get an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. I mean, so I haven't done 1,000 podcast episodes like you guys have, but we're right at about 100. You're going to be right at the breaking point of 100.
Cool.
One thing that I've noticed in the 2 years of doing the podcast is that there's a couple of things that people that do volume, there's a consensus here. They all do direct mail, and they all utilize virtual assistants, which I'm assuming by people in the Philippines, you're referring to virtual assistants.
Exactly.
There's a consensus between anybody that does volume. So thank you for continuing the trend here for all of our listeners. So hopefully over the past 2 years, if they want to do volume, they're going to learn a couple of things, which is direct mail is not dead and you need to utilize virtual assistants. So
exactly.
I want to kind of shift gears here and go to just you guys. You guys have been doing this since the 90s. You're partners in all facets of your lives.
Yeah.
What are some key traits here that you guys feel make a partnership as strong as y'all's is?
Patience.
I I completely understand this. I have partners myself in my company. So yes, I agree. Patience is key.
That's it. That's all I got. Just kidding. No.
What about you, Stephen? Do you have anything?
You know, and it's any socially, I've said this for years on the air. Any social relationship that works, one person has to roll over, and that's me.
I love it. I love it. So I have to ask, because I'm big. I always push the book Traction. I'm big on the CEO, COO, visionary, integrator. Which one of you is the visionary in y'all's company? Okay. And Jill, do you fall under the role of integrator and implementer within the business?
That's exactly right.
So I think that's very key to a partnership.
Yep.
And I think this is very key for people to understand that even if you're in a relationship and you want to be partners with your significant other, you need to understand that you still have to have roles within your company. And just because you fit together in your personal life does not mean that you're going to be great business partners. Exactly. And so I think that's probably a key to y'all's success, is that you clearly understand that, you know, Stephen, you're the visionary, and Jill, that you're the integrator, and you guys kind of fit in that. And I could kind of sense that even when, you know, Stephen's talking about, well, Jill's working on these things, you know, and I'm over here creating this 17,000 line spreadsheet. I have this vision for what we're going to do over here. So
exactly.
That's cool to see how that works out between you guys.
Exactly.
So let's transition to Land Academy, because I know this is a passion for you guys. Yeah. You've been doing that since 2015. So give a very simple breakdown. What is Land Academy?
Well, it is our education company and program where we teach people to have a business just like ours. And it started because the years leading up to that, we've been, you know, quietly doing our thing, you know, wholesaling land and different property types and doing just great. And so many of our buyers kept coming to us saying, all right, knock it off, you guys. I'm buying it from you. I'm marketing up and making more money. How the heck are you buying it so cheap?
Right.
There's enough properties to go around. We're all comfortable with that. So we would share it with them and tell them. It got to the point where, like, there's only two of us. I can only teach so many people at a time. So we thought, all right, let's just make this program, put it out there. See if anybody's even interested. And like, oh my gosh, we were overwhelmed with the response. And it has grown into this incredible community where we all are the same way, by the way. It's very brainy. Everybody helps each other. We were all there one time. We're now funding each other's deals. So anybody new coming in, doesn't have any money, big deal. Either I'm going to fund it or somebody else is going to fund it. We're not going to let a good deal go to waste. And it's so Land Academy teaches basically our whole business model, start to finish, from do I need an LLC? What do I do first? To, you know, do I want to sell on cash or terms? And how do I grow my business? And then now we also, like I said, we fund deals. We provide all kinds of tools and access to all the data that we have at our rates that pros can usually have, that new people coming in don't have access to. And in some products that didn't even exist, we've created. So
I'll give you a couple of examples. Well, we're the only licensed providers of all three data aggregators, assessor data aggregators that I'm aware of. DataTree, RealQuest Pro, and Black Knight Title Pro 24/7.
Just Agent Pro, Title Pro.
And so a huge bottleneck for us over the years, and everybody else that's in the land business, is locating property that doesn't have a physical address. It hasn't, the post office hasn't assigned it yet.
Right.
Yet it's in every data set. So we hired some people, and I headed up a team to create this product called parcelfact.com, where you can just type in the state, county, and the APN, which everybody has, because you get a tax bill, you have that information, and bang, it pops up and shows you all the data that's surrounded the area. And then you can click through and take a look at historic sales. It's pretty badass. I don't know if you can say ass on your show.
No, you can say whatever you want. We've had much worse said on here. We've had much worse on titles of episodes on here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some colorful guests on here. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
So, Stephen, I have to say this, man. You blow me away. You are beyond highly intelligent. I don't know if people tell you that or not, but man,
Nope.
I'm over here going, I hope I can just keep up with what you're saying over here. I mean, that's
People
brilliant stuff that
absolutely
you've
do
come
not
up
tell
with.
me that.
Oh, I tell you that every day,
Yeah,
babe.
right. It's all peaches and cream, man.
Right. I mean, that's incredible stuff that you guys have come up with. Because I mean, I've run into these issues where there's a piece of land and I'm like, I don't know what it is. I don't know who owns it. I don't know. There's no address.
Yeah.
What do we do with it? You know,
Exactly.
and
You can't put an APN
I've done nothing with it.
in Realtor and get anything. Nothing comes up. It doesn't work. But here you can.
So that's incredible. You guys have come up with that. So on Land Academy, how can people find out more about it? If you guys are comfortable enough, what does it cost and what does the program look like?
It's landacademy.com. The current price, I think, is around, I want to say $2,400.
Okay.
And then at the same time, we get you set up with our tools. So you have access to all the things that we talked about and more. We do weekly member calls. That's one of the things about Land Academy too, is two parts. Number one, it's our whole business model right there up front. We don't believe in upselling or you have to wait for this level or wait for that level. That makes me so
But there's
mad.
no $50,000 program that we have.
No.
This is it. We sell one thing. Yeah.
And it's our whole thing. We chose to just put it out there and that's it. And then the other thing is we have a lot of support, we create our own online community. It's called landinvestors.com. That's free. People can go look in right now and get an account and, start asking questions right there.
Landinvestors.com is kind of like the bigger pockets for land people. It's really popular, and you don't have to be a member. In fact, we encourage people to go out there and ask questions like, "Is this for real? Are these guys for real? Does this suck? Is Montana a good place to do this?"
Right.
I mean, any questions that you can possibly think of, doing research to see where you want to get educated and why, and all about the land business.
Well, there you go. You kind of gave my next question, which is for all the people that are listening. You are, out of the 100 episodes I've had, you are the third land investor that I've had on here. And I've never really gotten a direct answer to this. And so hopefully you guys can, because you guys have done far more than the other two. So who is in the right location to do this? Because I have listeners all across the United States. And you brought up a good question about, hey, is Montana a good place to do this? And it may be, if you don't live in the right location, is this easily to do virtually?
May I go?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
The answer is yes. You can be anywhere. And we have several members. Like we just had a live event in October. We had two guys that flew in from Germany. I didn't even know they were coming. And I'm like, wow, it was so cool. They're like, yep, we're doing it over here in Berlin. I'm like, this is the greatest thing. So yeah, you could be anywhere in the world and do this. And that's the beauty of rural vacant land. I don't have to see it. I don't have to stand on it. Google Maps. I can hire a photographer. I can get drones that come in there, and that's good enough. I don't have to be there and I don't have to let somebody in and show it, kind of thing too. It's very, very easy. So, and as far as areas, this is one of the things that makes me mad too. Some people talk about a secret county or something like that. That's a bunch of baloney. Right. It works everywhere. It depends on how hot you're coming in with your offers.
It's your offer price.
And how much you're willing to spend. Because I'm here to prove it to you right now. I'm finding deal. I'll tell you a deal right now. I'm doing a deal in LA County. It's a 4-unit complex, but it's going to be turned into 12. It's opening escrow today. Our offer price was like $913 or something like that, like $913,000. The guy was happy with $940. I said, done. He's like, 940 is my number. I'm like, you know what? We can do that. Why? Because it's in its current condition. It's worth 1.3 today.
Wow.
So I'm already buying it. And by the way, it's leased up, but they're month to month. So it's really easy to make these changes. So it doesn't matter where you're mailing. It's just understanding what you're doing. And also it's two parts. The offer price, what Steven does is magic. Getting my phone ring is his magic, and that's what he does. But then my magic kicks in, and I know how to talk to these people, and that's what I teach too. How to talk to them, how to be transparent, make them comfortable with you, and want to sell to you and work with you, and how to make it real easy and get these deals done. Where like this guy, he's he's basically leaving $400,000 on the table. But you know what? He's giving me a hug.
It's a bird in the hand.
Because I'm taking it. He's
him.
like, thank you.
Yeah.
And no one's ever talked to me like you, and no one's ever made it easy.
Yeah.
No one's ever, gosh, helped me like this. I hope you go and kill it on this deal. And that's the way it should be.
What we're looking for, well, I'll directly answer your question. This works in every single zip code in every single county in the country. The variable is not where it works. The variable is how you price it. So there are places in like Elko, Nevada, or there's places that are very rural in the country where you can send offers out at $50 to $100 an acre and get a good response and resell it for $100 to $200 an acre.
Right.
There's, but you're not going to do that in Manhattan. You're gonna really reprice it and look at the commercial aspects of things, which it's not beyond the scope of this. But you can buy some skyscrapers in Manhattan for undervalue in the same way you can buy them in Elko, Nevada. So it's all a function of intelligent pricing, smart pricing.
I'm going to go back to something you said, Jill, about the magic is Steven's getting your phone to ring, and then your magic is building the rapport with the sellers and making them trust you.
Yep.
And so often when we talk about sales with the motivated sellers, you guys have been so creative to flip the script there, because more often than not, we're talking about you go in, you build the rapport, and then you talk about the offer. You guys are getting the offer out the way. The awkward stuff's already done.
Exactly.
So when your phone rings, they're either calling you for two reasons. They're either calling you to F off, why did you offer me so low, or because they actually want to sell their land or their property. And so you're going to know that within the first 3 words of what they say to you on the phone. And at that point in time, it's all about just being yourself. Like you said, being transparent. I think that is super creative and just that's awesome that you guys have created that process, because that is like what I would say top 3 topics in all of the masterminds and education events that I've been to. That's what everybody wants to talk about is how can I overcome higher offers, or how can I build rapport, or I'm struggling with getting the contract signed. You guys are literally making your phones ring with people saying, basically, I'm ready to nail this down and sell my property right now. I mean, was that always how you guys did it, or did that evolve over the years?
Go ahead.
I say that's how I am. Do you want to? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I started the land company on buying back tax property, and we still do that. There's still places where we buy tax deeds and foreclose on tax liens. It's not our main business by any stretch, and we could never do the volume there that we do with land, with data and mail.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I remember when RealQuest, which used to be owned by First American in the real early 2000s, kind of opened it up to the public, because it used to be just for insurance companies and stuff. And that's when my life changed. It's just that switch just flipped in my head. And I'll tell you, it doesn't flip in everybody's head. This isn't for everybody. Right. We sit here on these shows and we make this sound easy, and we're happy, and we're doing these huge deals, and we live in a house on the ocean and stuff. And I'm here to tell you, it's a full day for both of us.
Right.
It's a lot of work. You know this.
Yes.
It's a lot of work and a lot of time, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. But in the end, it's profitable as hell.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up, because that's one of the things I always want to preach on this podcast is one of the things I didn't anticipate when I started a podcast is somehow that elevated me to people's eyes of I run a perfect company and everything's easy. Did you guys realize that when you started a podcast? Like,
oh yeah,
suddenly everyone was like, "Oh, you're a superstar." I mean, everything runs perfect in your company. It's like, no, I bought a microphone and I record things on my computer. That's all that's changed. So, for me, I think it's very important for people to understand. Yeah, there is a lot of work that goes into this. There was a lot of time and effort building into the systems that you guys had to do to get to the level that you are today. Not only for your company, but also for Land Academy. I mean, that's a whole separate company that you guys are running over here. I mean, I'm looking at this list. I mean, I think you guys have 10 companies, something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are running a lot of companies over here. So it's incredible the amount of time and effort you guys have put into building that, empire that you have created at this point. So I do want to let all the listeners know on repeat, like, hey, there's a lot of time and energy and failing forward that goes into creating this kind of stuff. So one of the things that we haven't touched base on here, and I think I know where you guys are probably going to take this answer, but you're talking about you're going and getting a piece of land, and it could be in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And even if it is 25 cents on the dollar, who are you selling it to? And where are you finding these buyers?
That's all, we've found that if you are coming forward, if you have something for sale, I buy it for 25 cents on the dollar, let's just say, I'm selling it for 50 cents on the dollar. If you think it's not going to move fast, if I put it in front of the right person, you're mistaken. It does. And that's the only thing. Stephen has said this forever. It's true. There's only two reasons something doesn't sell. One, it's not priced right because you probably paid too much. And two, you're not reaching the right people.
Right.
And we put it out there everywhere. And that's the thing too, that we help and coach and teach people. Don't just think this is good for eBay or this is good for Craigslist or this is good for LandWatch or anything like that. You need to make a system, and this is all Steven's doing too. He's all about systems, and I'm the free spirit over here. I've had to kind of reel it in.
Right.
But
if you have a rural piece of property, it's got reasonably good access and it's really priced well.
Yeah.
You're going to sell it on Facebook Marketplace to some kind of prepper or something like that the first week.
Yeah.
There you
Just
go.
got to get it
There's
in front of all
always
the
a
right
place
people.
to sell. Yeah.
If it's a lakefront thing, you make sure you put it on all your things, but then you kind of also put it in front of the hunting groups.
Yeah.
Maybe one that could be a hunting property. And that's one things that people have to kind of, I talk about a lot. We do some consulting too. It's like, you got to get out of your own head sometimes. Just because it's not your cup of tea doesn't mean it's not that person's thing.
Right.
Somebody's going to love this property way out there that nobody can find them on because they want to be off the grid.
We just bought a piece of property in Southern Ohio that's 10 acres, zoned for motel, specific use zoning for 50 grand. And we're just about to close on it for, I think, 600,000 or 650. And all we had to do was just kind of do a little bit of research and reach out to the people that own regional and national motel chains in that area.
Right.
This is what Jill's great at.
Right.
She'll seek these people out, give them a call and say, I've got this smoking deal. And the property's worth probably a couple $1 million. We always leave money on the table, always intentionally.
That's it.
Right.
That's part of our model.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that is that probably took some time to do the research to find those very specific buyers. But think about the amount of profit that is in that deal and the amount of time and energy that, and I've said this every time I talk about land, and at some point in time, I'm going to come out and say, I finally listened to myself after doing one of these interviews. But I mean, about the time and energy that we put into building cash buyers lists so we can wholesale a single family home for $20,000 to $25,000. I mean, that's like the average wholesale fee here in DFW is $20,000 to $25,000. And you guys are sitting here talking about, probably 2 to 3 times the amount of energy that I put into selling a home like that. But you're making $500,000 to $550,000 profit on this kind of deal. I mean, that's incredible. And there's not the power to do that with some of these single family deals and the ability to go anywhere. I mean, you're talking about so far, you've thrown out deals that you've done in Southern LA, Mesa, Nevada. Now you're talking about Southern Ohio. I mean, that's crazy. And you guys have really just like narrowed down how you can find those hot zip codes and find that. I mean, that's incredible that you guys do it. And you shocked me when you said you actually go after the hot zip codes. See, I would have thought it would be the opposite, because my thought process would be a hot zip code. Those sellers would just be able to turn it a lot faster. And if they wanted to sell it, they would.
People
what
sell
the idea to go after those hot zip codes.
Yeah.
So people in our experience, people sell their real estate for life changing reasons. They don't sell it on price. Like even these LA County high powered deals, people that sign it and send it back or call Jill and maybe renegotiate it a little bit, they're in a life situation that's causing them to do that. And they're not interested in maximizing price. Sometimes it's a death in the family or some type of job change or a life change. So I got over that, 25 years ago. They call and say, hey, can we do this pretty quickly? For the same reason they might go to a check cashing place. That's why they come to us.
Gotcha. Well, guys, this has been one of my favorite interviews. You guys are awesome. You guys blow me away. 16,000 transactions. I don't know. It'll be a while before I find someone that tops that number. Do you guys have any final thoughts or sales pitches for the Land Academy better than, hey, we've done 16,000 transactions. We know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, I do actually. If you've had two other people in our space on your show, and that's awesome, I'm sure that they were Land Academy members at some point.
There you go. I would almost agree. I think that I can almost guarantee that to be a fact.
I said, we're very transparent. We're happy to help. I tell you that the best thing I can share, if anybody needs help in anything, hey, talk to our online community, whether you're with Land Academy or not. We're here, happy to help.
That's right.
That's our whole thing. We have a lot of people that aren't members and have learned from us, and then they kind of come around like, all right, this clearly works. I'm ready to grow my business. I need you now, and that's when they, and we can help.
Jill always mops up what I say.
What's the best way people can connect with you and follow you guys?
landacademy.com.
Okay. And what's the name of the podcast?
The Land Academy Show.
Is there anything else that you have named the Land Academy that I should now ask you about?
Or even House Academy. They could even check out House Academy.
We have a company called
There
House
we go.
Academy.
Yeah, and House Academy.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For all of our listeners, you joined us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. If you don't want to give us a 5-star rating, then don't review us at all. Only give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on YouTube, only give us a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't like it, just stop listening and don't give me a thumbs down. All right?
That's awesome.
That's our episode for today, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks so much for listening to the Titanium Vault with your host, RJ Bates III. For more info and to stay up to date, visit www.podcast.thetitaniumvault.com and on facebook.com/The Titanium Vault. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time on the Titanium Vault.